calling for a law giving more protection for children.
2 more arrests after the death of a baby girl from a suspected dog bite in Redcar.
Horse riders call for better safety on the roads, with incidents on the rise, and County Durham the worst affected area in the north.
And crossing the causeway, the new app to help drivers avoid getting stranded by the tide on the road to Holy Island.
A debate has just started in Parliament this evening after a campaign led by a County Durham family hoping to change the law to protect children.
They want to see a new Myers law after toddler Maya Chappell was murdered at her home in Shotton Colliery in 2022.
The family's hopes were knocked back by the government last autumn, but more than 100,000 people have signed their petition, leading to this fresh debate. Our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick reports.
Maya Chappell was a little girl who was full of life.
I know, Maya!
She was just 2 years old. She was murdered by her mother's partner, Michael Damond. Her mother, Dana Carr, was convicted of allowing the death of a child. A review found opportunities were missed to protect Maya. Her father had spoken to the authorities about bruises on her body.
James raised them concerns with services and he wasn't listened to. His valid concerns that he raised wasn't taken seriously enough.
Now her great aunts are pushing for Myers law, which would mean the authorities have to share information with a family if another adult poses a risk to a child. This evening's debate in Parliament was prompted by their petition receiving 110,000 signatures in support of their plan.
It fills in the current gaps that they are in safeguarding, because there's still gaps, there's still children falling through them gaps, children suffering, families going through the devastating loss that we've had to go through.
To do that effectively,
their local MP led a previous short debate about this last October, but without a successful outcome. At that point, the government said it wasn't the time to introduce a child's risk disclosure scheme. Do you have any reason to believe they've changed their minds now?
Look, Josh McAllister replied to that and said now wasn't the time. He didn't say never, did he? So I just want to reiterate that he didn't say never. We've had conversations with Josh, who was really lovely and kind with us. We've had meetings with other ministers and MPs since, and it's great that they're listening to us. What we need now is stop the talk and start some action.
Children are still dying or being hurt at the hands of people that shouldn't be happening. So if he's saying when is the time, I don't think we can put a time on safeguarding. It's now. Now is the time to act.
They've also gathered handprints from hundreds of children in the North East and hope this will be passed on to the Prime Minister to help keep the pressure on the government to do more to protect children like Maya.
And Tom is live in Parliament for us tonight. And Tom, this debate, it got underway at 6 o'clock, didn't it?
That's right, Amy. It's happening just behind me in the corner of Westminster Hall here in a committee where Maya's great aunts are in there to watch proceedings. The debate should be longer than the previous one. It will last for up to an hour and a half. I think we can show you a live shot now. The family's petition is being presented by the Wearside MP Lewis Atkinson as he's part of the petitions committee here. A number of other MPs will also speak before a government minister responds at the end. In the meantime, the government have told us this afternoon that they already have another major bill going through Parliament which will deliver many of the changes Maya's family have called for, including better information sharing between police, education, health and social workers. If that is the response they get later, I can tell you Maya's great aunts don't believe that is good enough and say they'll keep campaigning.
OK, Tom, in Westminster for us this evening. Thank you very much for the latest there. Next tonight, a woman has been arrested on suspicion of child neglect after a 3-month-old baby girl died from a suspected dog bite in Redcar last Thursday.
For more, we can join our correspondent Rachel Bullock, who is outside the police station in Redcar for us this evening. And Rachel, this update was issued by officers there this afternoon.
Yes, that's right. In the last few hours, police here released a statement confirming that they've arrested a 31-year-old woman on suspicion of child neglect. and being a person in charge of a dog dangerously out of control, resulting in a death. Armed officers were called to the scene on Hardale Grove in Dormanstown on Thursday lunchtime after receiving reports of concern for a child. When they arrived, they destroyed a dog that was in the street and seized a second dog which was also later destroyed. Police confirmed that a 3-month-old baby girl had died, they believe, due to a suspected dog bite. Now, since the incident, police have remained at the scene. The woman who has been arrested has been questioned and released on police bail.
Rachel, the 31-year-old woman's arrest means that 3 people have now been arrested in this case.
Yes, that's right. Police also confirmed this afternoon that a second man, aged 36 years old, has also been arrested. He, along with a 45-year-old man, are now both under suspicion of being a person in charge of a dog which was dangerously out of control, resulting in a death. They too have been released on police bail while officers here continue to investigate this baby girl's death.
Rachel Bullock with the latest for us there in Rourke. Rachel, thank you. You're watching ITV News Tyne Teeth. Still to come up on tonight's programme.
Ups and downs from major football sides at the weekend. Simon will be here to talk us through it.
And here at the allotment, I'm talking flowers, April showers, and why hay fever might hit a little bit harder this year. I'll have more on that and, of course, your forecast later in the programme.
Next tonight, horse riders across the region are calling for the government to tighten the reins on road safety.
Over the past 10 years, the North East has recorded an average of nearly 50 incidents a year involving horses, with County Durham the worst affected area in the north.
As new figures show, the problem is on the rise. Campaigners are working with the police just to urge drivers to go dead slow. Emily Reader has the story.
Saddling up for a hack.
Oh boy, get this on, keep us safe.
And Julie's not taking any chances. Along with her riding hat and boots, she's wearing high-vis to try and stay safe out on the road. It's as figures show incidents involving horses are both deadly and on the rise.
There's been lots of riders that have come off horses. Unfortunately, there's been riders that have died. There's been horses that have been killed in collisions. The reality is that we have to, as horse riders, ride on roads to get to somewhere where it's safe. Unfortunately, the bridle paths around these areas are very far and in between. So getting there, we have to go on either 30-mile-an-hour roads, 60-mile-an-hour roads. We don't want to, but we have to.
And is this something you've had personal experience with?
I've had quite a few near misses. I've had times where vehicles have gone past so close, they've clipped my leg or clipped the stirrup. If it had hit the horse, I try to think what would have happened. A lot of people are unaware that if a horse injures its leg, a lot of the times they have to be put to sleep because they don't recover. You would never drive that close to a pedestrian, so why would you do it to a horse? I take children out riding as well, and the abuse that we've had and the language is absolutely horrific.
And figures show Julie's not the only one. In the past 10 years, 481 dangerous incidents were recorded on northeast roads. In that time, 6 horses were killed, with County Durham the worst affected area, seeing a 33% rise in the number of cases in the last year alone. The British Horse Society released the figures as part of its Dead Slow campaign. It calls on the government to do more to rein in drivers who fail to overtake responsibly.
The consequences can be absolutely tragic. Slow down to a maximum of 10 miles an hour. Don't sound your horn or rev your engine. When safe to do so, pass slow and wide, at least 2 metres distance. It is going to save horses' lives and riders' lives, and in fact, even drivers.
A spokesperson for the Department for Transport said the safety of all road users is a top priority for the government. The Highway Code identifies horse riders among the most vulnerable, with strengthened guidance on safe passing distances and speeds. Local police are saddling up with campaigners to drive the message home.
We've seen horrific injuries, we've seen deaths, and these The most important thing is these are preventable. Sometimes motorists don't even realise how they spooked a horse and how dangerous they're driving. But more and more motorists, cyclists and horse riders are sharing the video with us via Operation Snap and do it online, and we can take action.
It's hoped the campaign will send a clear message for drivers to hold their horses, to make our roads safer for all. Emily Reader, ITV News.
Now, it's the time of year with holidays, bank holidays and some warmer weather. We have more visitors to our coast, many choosing to go to Lindisfarne. But the RNLI receives around 15 calls every year to rescue people cut off by the tide on the Holy Island Causeway.
Now, a meteorologist from Northumberland's created a free app. It's called Holy Island Crossing Times, so you can track the tide times to reduce the number of call-outs. Amy Sutton has more.
Oh, they're still in the van. Okay.
Stranded at sea, an RNLI rescue on the Holy Island Causeway.
Yeah, we're on scene. We're going to transfer them to the rescue sled.
The tide stopping this journey in its tracks. Volunteers at the RNLI in sea houses know this voyage all too well.
Often we get calls to the causeway, and it'll be because either people or vehicles have been cut off by the tide. It is a tidal causeway, so at high tide the road completely disappears. Every 2 weeks we get a spring tide, so that could be up to sort of 4 or 5 metres of tide, and it can come in incredibly quickly. So it really depends, how many people are checking it before they cross.
Well, now there's a new way to tackle this problem with tech. Leon Morn is a meteorologist, a local lad from Long Framlington, now living in Utrecht. He's created an app, so the information is at your fingertips.
I think people these days expect things to be as easy as possible. They want that extra bit of reassurance. And a lot of people were asking, is there not an app we can download? And so actually that's what inspired it.
The idea for the app is simple. It's the tide times in your pocket, and it's really easy to use. Red means no, green means go. And don't worry if you've got no signal when you're here on the island, because the app works offline. You can even get it to send you a notification when it's time to go and head back to the mainland.
On the island, we asked people enjoying the sunshine if they thought the app was a good idea to avoid getting caught by the tide.
No, I hadn't heard about the app, no. I normally use the website, though. Make sure I'm okay. And I did actually walk across the sands today, so be very useful for that too.
I think it'll just help people not get stuck, really. Just know when to plan around.
Definitely, it'll be good for people coming in, better for tourism and all that kind of stuff as well.
Of course, the information boards, which have long stood the test of time, still exist, and crossing times are available on the Northumberland County Council website. But every little helps.
Everyone's on their phones nowadays using, smartphones, apps, different websites. So I think the more information people have access to, the better and the safer it is for everybody.
The amount of enthusiasm that the people in the North East have had for the app, so it's really cool. The mission is just to get that number as low as possible for 2026.
So there's high hopes this will make a difference at high tide. Amy Sutton, ITV News on Holy Island.
The ITV Evening News continues after us at 6:30.
Coming up in the programme, the Southport Public Inquiry finds the killer was an extreme danger and his attack on a children's dance class could and should have been prevented. America's blockade begins at the Strait of Hormuz after peace talks between the US and Iran ended without a deal. And Northern Ireland's Rory McIlroy makes history in Augusta as he retains his Masters title. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Simon is here to look back on the weekend sport. As always with North East football, Simon, it feels like we're on a bit of a roller coaster. Strap yourself in and all that.
Yeah, there are definitely ups at the moment, but there are some pretty obvious downs as well. Newcastle United has become a 5-alarm fire. The wheels are off at Middlesbrough, but Sunderland continue to steal the headlines, even on days when they're not supposed to. The home team was not the story at the Stadium of Light yesterday as far as the wider football world was concerned. Spurs' ridiculous relegation battle and their new head coach Roberto De Zerbi were the story. But Sunderland have stolen their fair share of Premier League narrative this season. Their winning goal was lucky. Nordi Mukiele's effort took a huge deflection, but it wasn't a lucky win. Sunderland deserved it. Sorry, Spurs deserved nothing and have serious problems. The Black Cats' biggest problem is getting asked whether they think they can qualify for Europe.
It's not in my mind at the minute because we are 10th and it's brilliant. So the main objective of the club was to stay in the league. Now it's achieved, and the division, we don't know when, is to be a consistent top 10 club.
Northumbria police are investigating alleged online racist abuse directed at Sunderland striker Brian Brobby following yesterday's game. The Black Cats issued a statement supporting their player and condemning the incident in the strongest possible terms. Newcastle United's season is stuck in a rut. At the moment, their games follow the same pattern. They play well in the first half, then give it all away in the second half. That's what they did against Sunderland last month. That's what they did at Crystal Palace yesterday. All in all, the Magpies have lost 25 points from winning positions this season.
It's a crazy statistic, and I don't know, no idea where that comes from. There's a feeling that we have gifted our opponent goals at times, at bad moments, and it's affected our psychology, and it's clear to see that we're struggling in that aspect at the moment.
It's complicated. Recruitment, workload, increased expectations and much more besides. But 14th place is not where Magpies fans thought they'd be in April, and the pressure is rising, especially on Eddie Howe. Middlesbrough are also stuck in a rut in the Championship, and it's ruined their chances of automatic promotion. They can't win games, especially at home, and they're not scoring enough. It's 6 without victory now, and Saturday's game against Portsmouth was painful. Borough should have won, but lost to a messy 97th minute scramble.
Poor game from us. Not the energy we wanted. Poor on the ball. Offensively, poor with a lot of things.
Consolidating their playoff place looks a better bet for Borough than automatic promotion now. In League 2, Harrogate lost the game they probably couldn't afford to lose. 2-1 away to relegation rivals Newport County. They're 4 points from safety with 3 games to play. Where there's life, there's hope, but not much. York City stayed up of the National League after winning 1-0 at Tamworth, but York's rivals Rochdale also won, and drama awaits when the teams meet on the final day of the season. Gateshead's great escape is done and dusted with time to spare. They were cut adrift at the bottom before Rob Elliott returned as manager, but their 1-0 win at Aldershot means they're mathematically safe.
I'm just immensely proud of every single person associated with the club. The big thing I wanted from everyone was belief when I come in, and you had to genuinely believe, and I think that everyone has. They've believed in themselves.
Hartlepool's season never really went anywhere. Their vague hopes of a playoff place disappeared altogether after they lost 3-0 at Boreham Wood.
Newcastle, Middlesbrough still struggling. Let's pick out some positives, though, and hand some pats on the back to Sunderland, exceeding expectations still. Gateshead, the escape is complete.
They were absolute toast until they brought back the Pied Piper of Gateshead, Rob Elliott. They were great when he was there the first time. They were a bit rubbish when he went away for a bit. They're great when he came back. Let's hope he stays. As for Sunderland, I was there yesterday. I can confirm Regis Labrise, bit uncomfortable talking about the idea of the Black Cats being in Europe. Might have to get a little more comfortable with it.
Okay.
The top end of the women's game is on an international break, but Middlesbrough are continuing to consolidate. Now, you might remember they were promoted last year. They're coming to the end of their first season in the National League Northern Premier Division. Borough are comfortably mid-table, and they won 2-1 at Sporting Calcer yesterday. It wasn't to be for the Whitley Warriors in the Scottish Ice Hockey Cup final. The Tyneside team took great support up to 5 for the final, but they were beaten 1-0 by the Edinburgh Capitals. The teams could meet again in the playoff final next weekend. In cricket, Durham's women lost heavily in their one-day cup opener against Lancashire. Durham's men won heavily in their championship game at Gloucestershire. They triumphed by an innings and 225 runs with a day to spare. The Speedway season is getting into gear. The Redcar Bears beat Workington Comets in a last heat decider in the British Speedway Network Series on Friday evening. In basketball, Tyneside-born former Newcastle Eagle Tosan Iwoma continues to make a splash in the USA. He was named the most valuable player in the G League finals as his team, the Greensboro Swarm, won the title. G League is the one just below the NBA. Back here, the Eagles men lost to Manchester on Friday but won at Surrey yesterday. The Eagles women beat Nottingham Wildcats by a single point, but that wasn't enough to impress the boss.
I don't think we played like ourselves. People say win is a win. We did get the job done in the end, but it was not pretty and it was not the standard that we expect from ourselves.
Simon, thank you very much indeed. Now, longer, warmer days are upon us, some of the time anyway. It's a welcome step away, isn't it, from winter, but it's one step closer to itchy eyes and streaming noses.
Hay fever season is here, and some who suffer from the effects of pollen may have noticed the sniffles starting a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah, it seems that a warming climate may affect when our trees and plants produce their pollen and how long it sticks around for. Ross is at the allotment to tell us a bit more.
Hello, good evening. Well, it has been a day of dodging showers here at the allotment and indeed across the region. But as the saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. Although it does look like the flowers this year have already had a bit of a boost. The bees are busy bustling between the spring blooms, and maybe your first sniffles of the season have already started. About a quarter of people in the UK get hay fever, but flowers like these that rely on insects for pollination are usually not to blame. It's the fine powder that's carried in the wind that has the biggest impact. These airborne types of pollen are broken up into different seasons. The tree pollen starts being released early in the year in February, so that's what we're seeing at the moment. Then, in a month or so, the grass pollen, the cause of most hay fever, that kicks in around mid-May. And then it's up to the weed pollen like nettle or mugwort to take us into early autumn. But nature's calendar is shifting, and it can be easy and sometimes colourful to spot. Here, our mild and wet winter did lead to an early burst of colour. It's lovely to see, but also not great if you do have hay fever. Our changing climate does seem to be extending the pollen season both earlier and later. So if you do have hay fever, your symptoms could well last for longer. The earlier start to spring is something that's been noticed by the Royal Horticultural Society.
These birch tree catkins, they're the male flowers, and they've released great clouds of pollen when they're warm enough and the wind shakes them.
This season's been a little early. It started very early in December, then we had a cold spell in January that set everything back, but since then it's been, on the whole, relatively mild. So we're a week or two ahead of where we normally are in terms of grass growing, hedges sprouting and flowers coming out.
Scientists monitoring nature in recent years, combined with wildlife records dating back centuries, show this early burst of pollen is not unique to this spring.
There's research that's been done into how different types of pollen are being impacted by climate change. The research has shown that for some types of pollen, for example oak and grass pollen, the season's actually becoming earlier, but also birch pollen season is becoming more severe. So hay fever sufferers could be seeing their symptoms appearing earlier in the year, and they could be seeing those symptoms for longer periods of time as well.
So if you have noticed that your sneezing started earlier this year, you're certainly not alone. Pollen season is well underway. The good news is that daily pollen forecasts can help allergy sufferers plan ahead, whether that means keeping windows closed on high count days or making sure medication is ready when those levels start to rise. The amount of pollen has been creeping up. Of course, though, day to day, the weather has a big impact on the levels we do see. At the moment, it's tree pollen causing the issues. If you do have hay fever, mostly ash and birch levels at the moment are moderate. You can keep an eye on those during our lunch and late bulletins and also, of course, on our website. So that is the pollen forecast. But what about the weather? Let's take a look.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries.
TUI sponsors ITV Tyne's weather.
Of course, we have seen a fair few, sometimes heavy showers bubbling up today, and with light breezes, they've been slow to clear through. But actually in the sunshine, with the light winds not feeling too bad, temperatures for many reaching the low double figures. As we head through the next few days, there is a bit of a change on the way. Low pressure starting to move its way in from the west. We'll see the cloud thickening as we head through tomorrow, a bit of patchy rain, and then into Wednesday, the winds begin to pick up. Further rain, more cloud, but also dragging up some mild air from the south. So actually through the week, our temperatures are set to climb. So back to this evening and overnight, still a fair few showers around. Again, some of these are heavy, they're slow moving, but we do have some clearer skies, and actually the clear skies will win out as we head overnight into those early hours. Clear skies, light breezes, same combination as last night. It means our temperatures will be falling down to around freezing. Certainly in the countryside we'll see a little bit of frost around, some patches of mist and murk forming as we head into Tuesday. So Tuesday, first thing, yes, there's a chill in the air, but there's plenty of blue skies, and quite quickly any mist and murk is going to clear. From the west, though, we're seeing that cloud increasing, and as we make our way into the afternoon, bits and pieces of patchy rain start to spread in, winds picking up with that as well. But where we do hold on to the sunshine, particularly further east, temperatures still holding up at around 13, maybe 14 degrees. Looking ahead a little bit further, that large area of low pressure really starting to make its move as we head into Wednesday. It's deepening, we're going to see those gusty winds at times, further spells of rain, but they do spread through, and we are dragging up that mild air. So actually, through the next few days, it's very much a case of April showers. We do get those brighter breaks, spells of rain, and also temperatures reaching the mid, maybe even the high teens.
TUI sponsors ITV Tyne's weather.
Thank you, Ross. That's Monday's news, sport and weather. The national news is next.
I'll be back with a late update for you tonight, 10 to 11. Hope to see you then. Have a great evening. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.